Well, hello and welcome back to this next episode in the series of becoming a blind woodturner, geared at all you amazing folks out there that are part of the blind and visually impaired community and are either wanting to embark on a woodturning journey, or you've already made some headway into that journey and you've already started turning. So anyway, very important today, and it is marking and measuring. So these again are some of the things I do. You might come up with your own solutions which work for you best in your own workshop, which is brilliant. This is all about just sharing ideas, and you can take ideas and run with them and make them better, make them your own, or just copy me verbatim, entirely up to you. It's just great that you're here with me whilst I go through this amazing journey with you all. Anyway, marking and measuring. I've got a piece of non-slip mat out here in front of me. If you have some vision and you might be able to make out some slightly blurred images, that's cool, but I will talk you through what I have on this mat. I do have some other items just dotted around, and I can just relocate the tripod for them when we get to that portion. Anyway, from the top left, I have a selection of punches. Doesn't matter really if the centre punches or nail punches. Very handy. Obviously you're going to need a hammer with these for marking points as a reference, marking the centre of your bowl blanks and spindle blanks. Really handy. Get yourself some punches. If you haven't got a centre punch and you can't be bothered getting one, and you've got an old nail, use a nail, that's fine, that'll work. So centre punch is great for putting that little indentation on your work to find a position. Then moving slightly across to the right, I've got some spring calipers. Calipers are very, very useful. The spring calipers, and next to them are some vernier calipers. You can use these for checking internal diameters, external diameters, anything you can imagine really. And there's lots and lots of different shapes and styles of calipers out there, and some really big ones when you get to doing hollow forms for checking wall thickness and things like that. So spring calipers and vernier calipers. So moving just a bit to the right, we have
0 millimeters
talking tape measure. Now this is, for me, it's a godsend, but it is so essential because
turning off in 5 seconds.
Apart from wood turning and helping with measurements in the workshop as a wood turner, just great for general DIY. And if you use this in collaboration with, say, an Audible spirit level app that you can get from the App Store and put it on your phone, you can do a lot of DIY in the house yourself, putting up shelves, all that sort of stuff, putting up pictures and mirrors. Absolutely amazing. Now this is a Cobalt product. I think it's called the Speechmaster tape measure. Bit pricey, probably about 70 quid around there, but absolutely indispensable. Can't live without it if you are a blind or visually impaired maker, creator, wood turner, joiner, carpenter, etc, etc. It's great. It's metric and imperial. It can store functions. You can measure and include the case. Great. Now I would also suggest that if worse comes to worse and your battery runs out, have a good traditional tape measure here, and then if you're in the workshop, your battery runs out and you think, oh no, I wanted to get this finished today, you've got a traditional tape measure, and you can just ask somebody to either read the scale for you, or you could use Seeing AI or Be My Eyes or My Finder. There's lots of ways that you can carry on with the job even if your battery runs out and you're talking tape measure. So have a good quality tape measure in the house as well. So coming down now and starting from the right, I have a 3-inch long cylindrical piece of wood. and it has a pin, which is an old screw inserted into the end. Now the diameter of that cylinder of wood, that plug, fits perfectly in the centre of my face plates. So when you found centre on a bowl blank and you want to attach a faceplate in turning, you find centre, use one of your punches to give it a good little divot, and then you put your wooden cylinder with its little pin into the hole that you've just made with a punch, and then you slide your faceplate over the top, and then whilst keeping that wooden plug in place, you can then screw and attach your faceplate in the centre position. So really handy. I love this part of, being blind, being presented with a problem and working the problem and solving it. I love it. And then I've got a couple of scratch awls, brad awl. I've got a traditional brad awl here, great for scoring. Use it with a traditional centre finder. And then I have got a little right angled scroll that I made with an old nail that I bent approximately to 90 degrees and just super glued it into a piece of wood as a little handle. And I use that in conjunction with this amazing gadget, which I invented and is produced in conjunction with Axminster Tools. It's called the Speed Sizer. Now this has a series of holes all over it, and these correspond to really all of Axminster's jaw sets. So whether or not you want to hold work on your lathe with a tenon, so you're in gripping mode, or a mortise, so you're in expansion mode, there's a hole on here to correspond with the correct size for optimum grippage or expansion. Really great. I can use this now time and time again to give me perfectly sized, accurate, safe marks for wood turning. So a lot of sighted wood turners have purchased this product and they would use a pencil in one of the holes, but I use that right angled scratch awl inserted in the correct hole. Just spin the lathe up for literally 1 second and it will leave a score line, which then becomes a tactile reference point for you to then lay out your tenon or mortise. So get yourself a Speed Sizer. I'd highly recommend it. Available at Axminster stores, and purchasing one of those will be a game changer for you in your wood turning. Repeatable, safe and accurate time and time again. And if you're not an owner of Axminster branded chucks or jaws, there should be a hole on here that you can use with your own particular brand, whether or not it's Record Power or Charm Wood or whatever. Easy. Should be a hole on there that you can use. So that's great. So that's marking and measuring tools that I use. And then another important thing that you're going to use almost every time is finding centres. So if I just move these items very quickly and put them behind me on my lathe. Just very carefully, I'll be back 1 second. We can then bring a couple more items in. Need that tape measure there. Need my talking tape measure. Put that there. And then what I've got here is some ways of finding centre. So first of all, traditional centre finder, again purchased from Axminster. So it's almost a square. It's a bit of an irregular square that's about 4 inches square, and you place that either on the edge of a square rectangular blank to find centres for spindle work, or along the side of a bowl blank, and then using a scratch awl you can score and you move it round a few times on your bowl blank, and where the score lines intersect, that's your centre position. So that's really handy. And then you can either use your screw chuck if you like using that for items that aren't that big, or again you can use the wooden plug and faceplate method that I've just described to attach your faceplate. So remember, if you use one of these, to have the straight line at the bottom. The wiggly line is there to remind you not to use that one, and you can use that method, traditional centre finder and scoring. And then also what we have is this device that was made for me by a friend, Rob, also known as Prickly Sauce on social media. So this is a great centre finder. He made this so I can find centre of bowl blanks up to, I think, about 15-16 inches. So basically it's almost like a square, a mitre square. So you have a fixed right angled section. It's made of plywood, and then a sliding fence that goes along a track, which you put your bowl blank in the centre, slide your fence up so it's gripped it, and then you have a triangular portion that slides up and down on a slot, and then you will slide that up to take up the gap between the two fences, and it's got some lovely chunky tactile knobs, and then there is a point at the top with a hole in, and then you would mark through that with your scratch awl absolutely brilliantly. It's called the Blind Centre, so feel free to make your own. It's really well made. So again, if you're very low vision, very poor vision, or you're totally blind, get someone to describe this in better detail for you, or get in touch with me, and then we can explain it a bit better. But an absolutely brilliant bit of kit. So there's that, and then one more way of marking centre. Now I'm going to move you over this way. So let's just use them. So you should be getting that anyway, hopefully. So this is, in fact, if I tilt it over like that and just hold it, what we have here is a Veritas centre finder. So this is, again, it's a square sectioned plate, but it has a right angled wall that's about 2.5 inches tall that goes around one of the right angles. So that's so you can locate your work securely in there. And what it has is it has a blade which runs diagonally along the faceplate. So it's sharp enough, but it's not razor blade sharp. And then you would put your, it works with cylindrical blanks and square ones and irregular ones. You put your block in there, and then you tap it, and then move it around, tap. I would suggest that you do it 4 times if the piece is slightly irregular. If you know it's exactly square, you just have to do it twice, and they'll intersect in the middle, and you can feel where the centre is and use your brad awl then. Slightly irregular, go around 4 sides, and then the 4 lines where they intersect in the middle will give you a little square, and you just guess. I'm going for best guess here, folks. And then with a cylindrical piece of wood, I would go round 6 times, and again, where the lines intersect in the middle, you can mark and find centre. So it's all about getting the work as close as we can to centre, so the work is as balanced as is, humanly possible to do so. So it's a bit safer for us, and there's less waste. I said in a recent video, you know, we're not dealing with aerospace levels of engineering excellence with this. It's really for us best guess. It works really well. So you'd put your block in there and then you'd whack it, hold it. I'm holding the camera. I don't know if that's, well, yeah, I can feel a groove there, but you'd hold it in place with the one hand and, you know, tap it with the other. Great bit of kit. So that's it, folks. That's a very quick guide to, well, it wasn't so quick actually, a guide to marking and measuring, and they're the things that I use, and I would suggest that you have a mess around and a play with. There's always a way. You will always find a way. You can use bits of string, you know, all sorts of different methods. You know, I've marked things out of reference points with a bit of tape, and you know, anything you can use to make it tactile, give you a reference point, but it's safe. You know, you don't want to be wrapping things around spinning objects that could get caught and cause you to have an injury or the work to become damaged. You know, be a bit savvy about it, but you know, they're the things that I use, and I hope that's been really helpful for you. Anyway, until the next episode, keep on turning, folks.